Hi, welcome back to the channel.
I'm Elena, I'm a librarian.
I'm Erin, I'm not a librarian, but I like books. How are you?
I'm good. I'm tired. It was the book fair this week.
Yeah.
Book fair tired is like another level.
It was incredible though. The theme was Enchanted Forest and Paw Patrol.
I let the middle schoolers vote on the theme. They picked Paw Patrol.
The best duo of all time.
Turned out good though. It did turn out good.
It was incredible, but I get it. You're tired. Plus you read 10 books this month.
11 actually.
Ooh, did you really?
I did.
You know what you didn't read though? The Romantasy series of mine. Stop!
Surprise!
Did you read the whole series?
No, I just read the first one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well still, I'm pleasantly surprised. I've been holding on to this for weeks, wanting to give her shit for not reading it. So, Lachlan Feuds.
Okay, that's gonna go on my March TBR.
Okay, great.
I knew you would, so I kept it a secret. It was so hard not to log it on Goodreads.
I can't believe it. Yeah. Dang, I walked right into that one.
I even bought the physical book so I could have this moment of pulling it out.
That's not mine, is it?
No.
Okay. I've been thoroughly chastised there.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk about these books though.
Yeah, so today we are going to do mini reviews of all the books Lena read in March and the ones that I read in March. 11 for her, I think like 6 for me, which is still you know,
really
respectable.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't normally read that many books in a month. It was like a challenge.
Would you like to start us off?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me knock out 2 in 1 here, because the first 2 that I read are Daughter of No Worlds and Children of Fallen Gods by Carissa Broadbent. These are the first 2 books in War of Lost Hearts series. And Carissa Broadbent wrote the Crowns of Nyaxia series that starts with The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which is one of my favorite books. I absolutely love that series. So I was pumped to get into this one. The first book, Daughter of No Worlds, it was so good. I loved it.
Yeah, everybody says that that's like one of the best books. I've been wanting to read it for a long time.
Yeah, it was a 5-star read for me. It's about Tisana. She's a former slave and she's trying to learn how to harness her magic so she can go back for the friends that she left behind.
It's feeling very Throne of Glass, but okay.
People compare it to Throne of Glass a lot.
Okay.
And then you also have Max, who is like the grumpy, sort of reluctant teacher. And he's sort of forced to teach her how to use her magic. And he has all this trauma and like, you know, emotional issues.
Who did this to you?
Exactly. Definitely a grumpy sunshine situation.
Interesting.
I love Tisana and I see her as being genuinely unique as far as fantasy protagonists go. She has this confidence that I find lacking a lot of the times. There's a lot of, she doesn't know she's beautiful in fantasy.
Yeah.
And that is not Tisana.
Yeah.
And she's also super hardworking. I felt like I was relating to her a lot. There were times where she would be thinking, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm just going to work at it until I can do it. And I just think she was so cool and likable for that reason and different. And the world building was interesting. The magic system was really good. It was a 5-star read and I was so psyched to get into the second book of the series. But then that book was a dud. The second one is called Children of Fallen Gods.
Okay. Why was it such a dud? I remember you were so mad.
I was pissed
when you finished this book.
I guess because my hopes were so high, and then it wasn't even just like, oh, it didn't live up to my expectations. Like, I hated it. I hated it. I won't spoil much of the plot because it really would, if I got into the plot at all, it would majorly spoil the first book. But the pacing was awful in the second one. It was so boring. She ruins the characters. Their characterization just flies out the window, especially Max. The story was so boring, and yet they were literally always in mortal peril. Like at all times, they were receiving like, you know, death, mortal blows, to the point that it was boring. I was sick of it happening over and over and over and over.
How many are there in the series? Like
There's 4.
Are you going to finish it?
I honestly can't decide. And this second one was 640 pages.
Yeah.
To be bored for that long.
I haven't heard this about the second one. I'm like shocked that you didn't like it.
I mean,
what would it be? What did you rate it?
I rated it 2 stars out of respect for the first one.
Okay, fair.
It really should have been less than 2. It has decent reviews on Goodreads. It's like 4.16. But if I filter to the negative reviews, I solidly agree with everything that those people are saying. And I just think for me,
yeah.
No.
I'm actually going to dovetail off of that because it reminded me so much of a book I read this month, which was the 3rd in the Kindred's Curse series by Penn. It was called Heat of the Everflame. I picked this book back up this month. I had read like 60% of it and decided like I need to finish it. I also hated it. It was also over 600 pages. It also had so much, like one thing after the other. The plot was just like moving along, but so much so that you just didn't care.
Yeah.
By the end, I was like, I can't read about another like situation you guys are in. I'm sick of it. I'm tired. If you go back and watch our Romantasy video, I go into more detail about this series. And the one thing that I mentioned is that the FMC really, really bothers me. And this 3rd book just solidified that she's like the worst. Pig-headed, self-righteous, so dumb. I cannot. By the end of this 600 pages, I just thought, no way. And her love interest, who was pretty redeeming, turns into a lovesick puppy with no agency who just like follows her around with her dumb decisions and tells her that like he would follow her to the ends of the earth, which
I'm rolling my eyes, but that's like the perfect man.
It's yeah, but the difference is you and I would not make these dumb decisions.
True. Good point.
We deserve to be followed.
That's right.
Diem, however, is such a struggle. I don't understand why anyone would like go along with her dumb decisions. So I was not into this. It was a 2 out of 5. It really solidified that this series has just not worked for me. The 4th comes out, I think, at the end of this year. I think I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next I have Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This is a retired library copy that I got off Thrift Books. That's why it looks like this, but
I love the cover of this.
I know.
think it's like very intriguing.
It is, draws you in.
Yeah.
I had heard so much about this book. It's a fictional retelling of Shakespeare's early life and family, with a heavy focus on his son Hamnet and his wife Agnes, especially Agnes. Shakespeare is like a background character. He's never even really named. And I expected this book to be kind of like a historical fiction vibe, but it actually reads like a witchy story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why I hadn't gotten that vibe from the reviews I'd heard of it.
Neither.
But it's very witchy. Agnes has like special abilities and senses that at some points in this story make her feared by the locals, and then at other points they kind of revere her for it, depending on how useful it is for them, you know? But she's very cool and very witchy, and it is a sad story. It's kind of tragic. It's about the Black Plague, which is a topic that I find fascinating. I feel like, you know how kids grow up being obsessed with the Titanic a lot of the time? Like kids go through a Titanic phase?
Yeah.
I feel like I had a Black Plague phase as a kid. It's just such a horrifying concept. So the book was kind of sad, but really interesting. Like I didn't feel sad reading it. And I highly recommend the audiobook. The narrator was very good. I kind of switched back and forth between the physical copy and the audiobook, and I really liked the narrator. I think that you would like it. I thought it was going to take me a long time to read, but it's actually not bad at all.
Okay.
And I think this will also convince you to read it. It has very long-winded narration. It has some flowery prose. If you like Erin Morgenstern type writing, I think you will like this book. So I gave it 4 stars.
Okay.
Next, we have Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is from the Legacy of Orïsha series, and the 3rd one comes out in June. These are like a YA fantasy series in a West African-inspired landscape. I read the first one years ago, but I couldn't really remember what happened, so I was really excited to reread it. I want to get back into it so I can read the 3rd one when it comes out.
Yeah.
And I was just reminded this book's so good. It's so good. I think it's highly underrated. Maybe when the third one comes out, people will be talking about it again, you know? It had a lot of hype when it first came out, and then everybody kind of forgot about it, but it is worth your time. It's a very fun read. It's set in a world where magic has been outlawed. All the magic users were like rounded up and killed years ago, and magic has disappeared from the landscape. Enter our main character, Zaylee, who basically has to live as a second-class citizen because she has the genetic ability to do magic. Of course, magic has disappeared, so she can't actually do it. But just for being one of these people, she is treated like a second-class citizen. Then she goes on a huge quest with her brother and the princess, Amari, and the three of them go on a quest to restore magic and bring justice back to the land.
Cool.
Yeah. I love a quest.
Yeah.
I love two girl best friends.
Yeah.
Their like dynamic is so fun to read about. The magic is very fun. The West African setting is so interesting. It makes the lore feel just different from the Anglo-Saxon fantasy we always read about. It does have a YA romance that is not my fave, but mainly it's a book about friendship and going on a quest, which I love. It's 5 stars.
Okay, next this month I read Foxglove by Adalynn Grace. This is the second in the Belladonna series, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I think I gave it 3 stars. I kind of struggled with the main character's romance, considering it was with Death himself.
Oh yeah.
I was just not convinced by it, and I was a little concerned by it. I think that the romance between these two characters was better in this second book. I think this was an improvement. And you also get a different point of view in this book, which I really think helped with the development of the plot and keeping you interested. They kind of throw in almost a love triangle too. She definitely tried to open up the world in this, and it really worked. I think I still gave it 3 out of 5 stars in the end. This series is just kind of still meh for me. But I will follow through with Wisteria, which I think comes out soon. And I know this is specific, but I love flowers. And I love that they're all named for the flowers. And in this book, she talks so much about like Wisteria, even though this one's called Foxglove.
It kind of teases.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Do you like or hate these covers?
I'm half and half.
For me, the only thing I don't like is why is she wearing like an ABH liquid lipstick from 2015? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question.
That's very specific.
Do you know what else?
Like,
the inside of this book is absolutely stunning.
Beautiful.
Look at this. Like, it's so beautiful.
Oh, with a little quote.
Yeah.
It said that Foxglove is most lethal just before the seeds ripen.
Ooh.
My next one, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. It is The Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I picked this up on our Asheville trip, and it had staff pick on it. It's a prolific series. Ursula K. Le Guin was a prolific fantasy author like in the 60s. And this is her best known series. It's called the Earthsea Cycle, and this is the first one. It's about a sorcerer who is destined to one day become the greatest sorcerer of all time. But right now he's just a kid, just a dumb kid. His name is Ged or Jed. It's like GIF or GIF, you know?
What did you read it as?
Ged.
How did you get through a book reading Ged over and over?
I'm like, okay, Ged being an idiot, Ged building a boat, Ged sailing the boat, Ged wrecks the boat, Ged builds another boat. So much of this book is boat talk. I didn't really like it.
Okay.
I think it's good. It's just not for me. When I was reading it, I was like, this is a book for boys, isn't it? So 2.5 stars.
All right.
But next, we have a banger. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. When I first picked this up, I don't love this cover. There are UK cover editions that I think are much better. But now just looking at this cover fills me with like warmth because
I actually don't mind it.
I'm so like attached now. And now like I know things.
You get it.
I know things. This is a YA science fiction series. It's non-Cosmere. It's the first non-Cosmere book that I've read from Brandon Sanderson. And he is my favorite author. So it's no surprise that I freaking loved this. Oh man, did I love this. This was the kind of book that I couldn't stop talking to people about what was happening in the book, even though they had no idea what I was talking about. It's about a girl named Spensa who dreams of becoming a pilot so she can defend humanity from these attacking alien forces and also redeem her family honor, because a few years ago, her father did something that like branded him as a coward, and now their family is like social pariahs because of it. So Spensa has something to prove. It's the future, and we're not on Earth.
Oh, okay.
It's like a small colony of humans crash landed on this planet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're stuck there. They're being kept there by this alien force called the Krell, who we know very, very little about and seem determined to exterminate the humans that live on this planet. It's really unique. I think a lot of the time science fiction can be really formulaic to me, which obviously fantasy can be as well. But sometimes with sci-fi, I'm like, I get it. We're in space. We're either fighting aliens or we are the aliens. Time travel. This is all kind of the same story. This is fresh and fascinating. There's also a great crew element where she sort of forms this like ragtag bunch of friends that all have their own unique strengths and personalities. There's a really funny comic relief like AI character. It's so good. I really liked it. I'm so excited because Echo picked the second one for me to read this month, Aaron's puppy. So I will be jumping into the second one, and I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Next, I read Ready or Not by Cara Bastone.
Oh, did you read this?
I did. It was like a spur-of-the-moment decision. The cover of this book is just so gorgeous, and we're very picky about what kind of romance covers we like, especially if they have characters on it, which this does. But I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. And because I heard that the audio narration in this is incredible.
Really? That's so rare for a romance.
Exactly. So I listened to it on audio through Spotify. Thank you, Spotify Premium. And this is not sponsored.
Yeah. But if you want to sponsor us,
yeah, exactly.
Reach out.
The narrator was so good.
Wow. I guess it's a female narrator?
It's a female narrator. She puts her all into this. She deserves like a friggin' Oscar for this narration. It is so good.
Did she have a non-cringy man voice?
Yes.
Because I feel like that's the make or break.
And like, she gets into it. I would not say that this is a romance heavy book. It's a surprise pregnancy situation, but there is some spicy scenes. And this narrator goes all in a way that I'm like, bravo. Bravo. She's just like, she really knocked it out of the park. I really liked it. Yeah, I was very impressed with her.
I feel like I'm the only one on the planet that loves the unplanned pregnancy trope.
I had never read a book like that before, and it's not something I thought I would enjoy. And guess what? I really
People hate it, that trope.
I can understand it, but I think it was very well done in this. She has a one-night stand. She gets pregnant. She has to sort of come to terms with the pregnancy, reevaluate everything in her life, figure out her relationship with the father. The romance ends up being between her and her best friend's older brother. Who kind of like steps in and helps when he finds out she's pregnant. Seriously, he is probably the most perfect man I have ever read. He is a golden retriever of a man in the best possible way. I loved reading him. He literally did nothing wrong. It's totally unrealistic.
I'm gonna read this.
It would never happen in real life. You would love it. I finished this book and was just happy. Although to be fair, like 2 days later, I was still thinking about it and I thought this is a wildly unrealistic expectation of pregnancy and the way things, and men. I was like starting to get kind of annoyed by it, so I just stopped thinking about it. But if you're able to just sort of like keep it in your little bubble, perfect 5-star read. Definitely do it on audio. It was fantastic.
The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix.
You haven't told me anything about this. I'm really interested.
I read this book.
I've heard people hate Grady Hendrix.
I think I hate Grady
Okay,
Hendrix.
this makes sense.
I saw a 1-star review that was like, this is my first Grady Hendrix book. And barring a knock on the head that changes my personality completely, it will be my last Grady Hendrix book.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I kind of get that. Here's the situation. The book plays off horror films, the type of thing where there's one girl left after everyone else gets murdered and she has to kind of confront the killer or the monster, the final girl. And this book is about a bunch of real life final girls. I mean, this isn't real, thank God. This is fiction, okay? And they meet up once a month in a support group. All of them went on to, like, there were movies made about their stories.
Okay.
And they're all based off of real life thrillers. So if you're like a huge movie buff, like horror movie buff, you probably stand a much better chance of enjoying this than I did, because you'll get the references better than I did. This is an interesting little Easter egg. All of the final girls, their names are the names of the actor that played them in the real life, as in our world, movie adaptation of their story.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It does.
It's a little convoluted.
Yeah.
But it's like an Easter egg that I definitely did not pick up on because I'm not a movie buff.
Yeah.
Reading this was stressful. Fucking stressful.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what okay, well, actually, I do know what I expected. I thought it was going to be campy and like a bit scary, but like, you know, you're trying to figure out who the murderer is because the girls start getting picked off by somebody. And I thought it was going to be like a suspense, scary movie type situation. This was like not like that. It was a breakneck pace. The main character, Lynette, is horribly paranoid and she has panic attacks all the time in the book. You're reading from her POV, which is stressful. There is not a single likable character in this book.
Interesting.
I kind of wanted the killer to get them all, to be honest. I mean, they were all so unlikable. I thought that the final girls would all be nice to each other and like support each other.
Yeah.
No, not so.
A man writing women.
Yes, and then, okay, to that point, there is a lot of talk in this book about how men are terrible, men are evil, everything that's bad that's ever happened in life happened because of a man. And let me just tell you, I am known for the phrase men are scum. But this was too much, even for me. And then when you consider the fact that it's written by a man, it felt a little icky. It felt a little bit like he was making fun of it a little bit. I wrote, I don't think I would like Grady Hendrix if I met him in real life.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But if you like thrillers and you like horror movies, you might like this book. For me, I gave it 2.75 stars.
That's specific.
Yep.
Okay, the next one I read this one was A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. I really struggled with the word onyx for some reason. That just does not roll off the tongue.
I thought it was the A Dawn part, like the A, I don't know, like the article.
I always said it as Dawn of Onyx.
I have a pet peeve about that though. I hate when people are like, I read The Fourth Wing.
Yeah. You're right. So this is a romantasy book. I finally picked it up on Libby. I'd heard a lot about it. It was a Goodreads award nominee last year. And in this book, there's a bunch of kingdoms all named after, I guess, gems. I don't know what onyx is. Stone? Whatever. There's a bunch of kingdoms all named like that. And the backdrop of the story is a war between the kingdom of Onyx, who are considered the aggressors, and the kingdom of Amber. And our main character, Arwen, which I actually really liked that name.
Yeah, good fantasy name.
Yeah, is from the kingdom of Amber, and she has these rare magical healing abilities.
Ooh.
She winds up basically offering herself up as a healer to the enemies, to Onyx, in exchange for the safety of her family. She's never left her village in Amber before, so she goes to Onyx and like her mind is blown. The bubble is burst. She realizes what's out there in the world, and it's really good. It's very predictable in a lot of ways, but it is highly enjoyable. I really, really enjoyed reading this book. I thought it was written very well. I thought Arwen was a very fun main character. I really liked the love interest. I thought he was really well done.
What's his name?
Kane.
Oh. Okay.
Pleasantly surprised by this book. The second one comes out in like a couple days. It's called something, A Promise in Peridot. I don't know, what is that?
Peridot?
Peridot?
That's our birth month stone, Aaron.
Peridot? Is that literally how you say that? Okay, A Promise in Peridot, which sounds like paradise. Anyway, it comes out in a couple days and I will be dropping everything to read it because I'm really into this.
I love that.
I would highly recommend. It's a really good romantasy book. Anybody who needs a Fourth Wing, ACOTAR, Serpents in the Wing of Night, hangover cure, pick this up, see what you think.
I guess this counts as romantasy. I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Why do I feel embarrassed to talk about this? All right, this is my first Ali Hazelwood book ever, and it's Ali Hazelwood's first fantasy book ever. It's about a vampire with a Y who is forced to marry an alpha were, which is a werewolf.
Is it W-E-R-E?
Yeah. Vampires versus wares.
Okay.
Here's where the embarrassment sets in. Like
she didn't have to reinvent the wheel there.
You didn't need to do all that.
Yeah.
So Misery is the name of the vampire girl, and she is a hacker / STEM girl. She is very sarcastic and quippy. She has a lot of personality. And then Lo, the werewolf, he's really tall. You can watch the vlog if you want to see more of my reactions to this book. I liked this book. I read it in one night. I was very entertained by it. There's a whole mystery going on. Misery agrees to marry Lo because she suspects that he's involved with the disappearance of her best friend. And she's obviously trying to find her best friend. I really liked that mystery element, and I thought it was really funny at points. There were some points where the writing was very teenager fan fiction-ish. The spice, yikes. Honestly, it was yucky. Ew. And you know what's interesting? I keep seeing reviews of this book where other people talk about this spice, the issue of the spice, and people are getting very heated and expressing that apparently the one element that is icky about the spice in this book is apparently a staple in werewolf romance.
Oh.
Which it may be true that it's a staple, but it is still icky. Okay.
What do you mean, is it a staple? Like, are they saying because it's an anatomical thing?
Yeah, apparently this is like a thing.
Yeah, but werewolves are not real.
I know!
So
you don't have to do it.
You don't have to.
Right. Yeah. It could have just been normal.
Okay.
And you chose to make it like that.
You made it weird.
You know? Like, you made it weird. If you're into that, then good for you.
Yes.
But I thought it was a little bit out there for me personally. The spice scenes, I had to skip over most of them. And the dialogue during these spicy scenes, horrible. I had to like repress it to enjoy this book, which I did. I gave it 3.5 stars though.
I am really surprised by that. I'm happy with that. Okay, will you read another Ali Hazelwood? That's a no. Okay, next I read Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. I am obsessed with this cover. You probably saw it on all of my shorts because I just love it.
It is lovely.
I was so excited to read this. Dolly seems like my dream author. She just seems like somebody whose books I would absolutely adore. So I've been wanting to read one of hers for a long time. I was a little underwhelmed by this, actually. It is very British, which I actually really like. It follows a main character, Nina. She's 32. She's got a wonderful job. She just bought a flat in London. She's got a great social circle, and she's been single for a little while. And then she goes on a dating app and meets a great guy named Max, falls head over heels for him, and then he ghosts her.
Oh, okay, ghosts.
Yeah, and so then things kind of like spiral, or like all the holes that are in her life sort of present themselves. And I think Ghosts is supposed to be indicative of a couple of different things that are happening in her life. She kind of has to confront all of the issues in her friendships, her changing relationship with her aging parents, which I think is very interesting. Probably the only part of the book that I was really invested in. But overall, this book was a very character-focused story. There's not much plot. Normally, that is the kind of book that I love.
Yeah, that is usually.
But the problem was, I felt like Nina, the main character, was so one-dimensional. I actually don't feel like I know her very well. She wasn't fleshed out. A lot of telling, not showing. She's a food writer, but we hardly see her interact with food. She obviously loves food, but like it's not shown very often. We're told by a bunch of different people that she's a tomboy and sort of references to like maybe her wishing she was a man, haha. But I never see that in her I never saw any of her personality. And it's very hard for you to have a book that's supposed to be so character focused and you still not to really know the character. It just made the whole story fall flat. It wasn't very compelling and I was very upset. And she has a best friend named Lola. Like if Lola and Nina had just been like, forget all these guys who are ghosting us, let's just get together, it would have been great. And I really think that there was a missed opportunity there.
Yeah.
Dolly is incredibly witty. There were parts of this that I was laughing out loud. Her social commentary is spot on in parts. There are a ton of really good one-liners and really good like commentaries on things. But as a whole, this was a sad 3 out of 5 for me.
Oh, dang.
I was shocked.
That's a shame.
I know. I am going to read her other ones and hope that they are better because I can see the brilliance. But yeah, this kind of fell flat.
All right. I also read Ruthless Vows in that same blog where I read Bride. And I said that I would give you my final thoughts in our wrap up because when I ended this book, I was feeling lackluster about it. And I wanted to kind of sit with that for a little bit and see how I feel. Mm-hmm. And I feel lackluster about it.
Okay.
I'm so disappointed. I really loved Divine Rivals, her first book. It's very romantic and there's not a lot of plot going on and the love letters trope, it just really works for me. But then in this one, it was like she thought, oh, okay, I'll do some plot now. But the plot was bad. I didn't care at all. I kind of wanted Iris and Roman, the main characters, to just dip out.
Leave it all behind.
Yeah. Because I was like, what are you even doing this for?
I know they theoretically could. They have no stakes in this war, really.
None.
Like they could just leave.
They should just leave.
Yeah.
They should absolutely just leave.
Yeah.
But instead, they feel the need to insert themselves in the extreme conflict between two gods that
they are not trained for this. Anyway.
And then she messed up with Dacre, the underworld god. He is heavily present in this book, which totally destroys the sense of mystery that you get about him in the first book. And then he turns out to be the weakest villain I feel like I've ever read. I mean, he is a weak villain. I am not scared of him. He does not seem particularly powerful or smart or dangerous. He's like getting duped by Roman, and Roman's barely even doing anything. Roman did nothing in this book. Negative actions. And then she kept describing him as like physically frail in this book, which just made me like not very attracted to him. She's like, he had this cough for life now, and he shuffles along and his bones are sticking out. I'm like, yum. Sexy romantic lead. You know what I mean? So I gave it 3 stars.
Okay. Again, out of respect for the first.
Yeah. Disappointing.
Okay, the last book I read this month was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I was so excited when I found this at the library. It's the only adult novel by Emily Henry that I have not read. This is a friends to lovers romance. It follows Alex and Poppy, who are best friends, and every year they go on vacation together until one year they go on vacation and there's this incident that causes a rift in their friendship.
Oh dear.
And they don't really speak after that. And then Poppy does some soul searching and feels like she's in a rut and contacts Alex like 2 years later and says, hey, would you go on a vacation with me and see if we can like salvage our friendship? So they do. This was cute.
It's a good setup.
Yeah, I normally don't like when books go back in time, like toggle back and forth between the past and present. But I thought it worked really well in this to help with the plot development and the character development. It really made sense, and I think she did a really good job interspersing them. I will say that Alex and Poppy are no January and Gus from Beach Read. They're not quite as good, but
they probably are for someone out there.
I can't
You don't think
imagine
so?
who that person would be. But yeah.
You're just so obsessed with Gus.
I am. He's perfect. And Alex was a little more neurotic than Gus, which you're right. I think some would work for some people, and he's still like a sweetheart. But she definitely picked lanes for these two. It's almost like it's not Grumpy Sunshine, but it's like a carefree and uptight type relationship between the two. Overall, I still loved it. I usually love everything that she writes, and I thought the premise was really cute. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay, and then the 10th book that was on my official TBR was Shadow Speaker by Nnedi Okorafor. This is like a sci-fi, really fantasy in my opinion, book set in the future in West Africa. And in this book, a nuclear event has occurred that has essentially brought magic into the world. Everything's different. The animals are different. The landscape is different. Crazy things are happening everywhere. People are manifesting different abilities. It's just craziness. And the book takes place about 70 years after that event. So things are still crazy, but people expect it to be crazy now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our main character, Edgy, is a teenage girl with shadow speaker abilities. She can speak to shadows, and she has like exceptional eyesight and a couple other cool abilities. And she goes on a quest to hunt down the woman who murdered her father, but not in a revenge way. And she's also trying to prevent an intergalactic war.
Wow.
So
that's a lot.
There's a lot going on for her. It's really good. I loved it. Nnedi Okorafor's series, Akata Witch, is one of my favorite series of all time. And I realized that reading this is like getting to read Akata Witch again for the first time. Yeah. It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's very different, but all the vibes are there. It is so imaginative. The magic is so cool. The characters, you have this cool like female protagonist who has 2 cool female mentors, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like you don't get that very often.
Yeah.
There's not any annoying like YA love triangles or anything like that. Very fun to read. We've got a cool like talking animal companion.
I love that.
There's like little mysteries sprinkled throughout, and there's a very fun feeling of the magic is really technology and the technology is really magic, kind of back and forth between those two. That I think is really unique and super good. Definitely a 5-star read.
Is that a series or is that a standalone?
It's a duology.
Okay. You've been into like the sci-fi kind of.
I know, I'm like maybe going through a phase.
I guess it's kind of fantasy-ish.
It describes itself as sci-fi, but it read fantasy to me. Okay.
Yeah. We're on to our final of the day, which coincidentally is the same series. Yay! Scarlet Princess. This is the first in the Lachlan Feud series, which is one of my all-time favorites. I reread it this month when I got strep and I just wanted something familiar that I love. I just blitzed through these 4 books. And Lena was required to read the series because she chose it.
In our underhyped romantasy video.
Yes, I'm very curious. I have said in the past that the first of this series is the weakest, which makes sense. You gotta set the stage. What did you think?
I loved it.
Did you?
Yeah, I loved it. I think Rowan is
the best.
I love Rowan.
She's so funny.
She's so funny.
Yeah.
But she's also not as two-dimensional as a character like her often is. You're getting her internal dialogue, and I can tell she's like, yeah, I know, I fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, she feels bad.
Yeah.
And so this, basically, the premise of this story is Rowan, who is a princess of a Scottish-inspired kingdom, sneaks over to the neighboring enemy kingdom to try to bootleg some vodka for her sister. The enemy kingdom is a Russian-inspired type. And she gets captured while trying to steal. She wasn't stealing the vodka, she was buying it, but she was bootlegging it or whatever.
It's a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
I wrote, she's taken prisoner and then she has to figure out how to stay alive without also starting a war.
Yes. And you're right, she's really grappling with the fact that she messed up and the repercussions for her family and a lot of other people are
could be huge.
And
she could start a war. I was just picturing Merida from the Pixar film Brave.
I'm assuming they took inspiration.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
And I really loved all of the descriptions of the dresses and outfits, the food. I felt like I was really getting a glimpse into their culture that I really enjoyed.
So there's one thing I want to say about this is that coincidentally, Robin Mall and Elle Madison, the authors of this book, which we didn't say, have just announced that they are writing a 5th book in the series from the POV of the love interest, which is, I was dying because I love him so much. So I don't know when that comes out, but I'm into it. So
yay!
So you have to finish the series.
I will. You were right. I read this in like 2 nights.
Yeah.
And these are all available on Kindle Unlimited as well, which is nice.
5 out of 5 series. Pick it up. It's low fantasy. It is, we call it romantasy, but there's hardly any fantasy in it. It's really just like a cool, different magical kingdom.
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, man.
Okay.
What a good reading month. I can't believe I read 11 books.
You did so good. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
If you've read any of the books that we reviewed, let us know. Do you agree with our star ratings? Do you feel differently about these books? Put your thoughts in the comments down below.
Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and until our next video, we'll see you later.